Well, I grew up in a family of musicians, so I was exposed and indoctrinated early on.
What did they play?
My dad's a drummer, and he played in a bunch of like rock bands and kind of punk stuff. Even before, I mean, he was like my age doing that sort of thing, and I grew up listening to the band that he was in at the time. And my mom is a singer, and they also gig in churches. So I grew up like going to the early morning rehearsals and like being in the green rooms and stuff. But that was like my first memories of music was like growing up in the CCM scene, you know. Yeah, that's like my first ever experience with playing music.
How old were you?
I was like, I think 14, like the first time. Yeah, I started like practicing drums when I was like 12, and then my dad kind of like pushed me to like play in youth group bands. So yeah, when I was like 14, I auditioned, and then it became a thing I did like every Wednesday, and then I was gigging like Wednesdays and Sundays like every week, just playing church music, which is really funny, you know.
Did you enjoy the church music?
I did at the time. I did, and then
Energetic.
yeah, well, it teaches you like passion, you know, like the music's like, oh, it's not about us, it's about something greater, you know, which I think is really good to keep with you as an artist. And I feel like it got my chops up, you know. I was able to lock in with different musicians and be expected to learn music and show up prepared. I feel like it just like, it got me ready for like the actual music industry, you know. I mean, just a love for music, right? Like I just loved playing drums, and I loved creating music with other people. And I think more than all that, performing. It's so fun. I love the rush of performing. I love the impact that a good performance leaves on people, no matter the setting, you know? And I feel like when you're doing something like that, and you're so locked in, you get in like this like flow state. And that's the first time I remember like having this overwhelming feeling of like, just like a zeal for life, for like music, or just like being present in the moment, you know? I found like the most present I was in life was drumming and performing, and I got addicted to that feeling early on, you know? I guess it was guiding. I mean, I didn't really care about school, you know? I was like A-B student, kinda, you know? I sort of half-assed academics, you know, which I never, you know, kids stay in school, obviously. But all I knew that I loved and wanted to do was music. So it was kind of, I guess it was that thing at the end of the day that I was looking forward to. Like, I can't wait to get out of school, go home and drum, or like playing my band and make songs. And then the goal obviously was always to like bring it to the live setting, to like play shows, you know. Big Ticket in Jacksonville, I think it was 2015 or 2016, that festival they used to do at, I think it's Metro Park. I don't know if that area really exists anymore. They're like building apartments and stuff. But there was like a really cool rock festival, and a bunch of my favorite alternative bands were on at the time. It was like the most stacked lineup ever. But a band that I grew up on called Mute Math played that festival, and I had never seen them until that point. I think I was 15. And seeing that live show and just the passion and like the bombastic nature of each band member and just like how explosive and like bigger than life it was, it left such an imprint on me. I was like, this is the coolest thing, and how do I do exactly what they're doing, you know? I think that's kind of what solidified, oh, this is what I have to do the rest of my life, you know? Like, that is the coolest thing, and I don't want to put my eggs in any other basket. Like, this is it, you know? The first experiences I had with like learning music was just trying to replicate other people's songs, you know? So like I'd play along to my favorite music. I didn't really take any official lessons until I was like 16 years old. So up until that point, it was like self-taught, going to my dad, who was a drummer, thank God, for tips and tricks and everything. But I would just, even if I wasn't getting it like hit for hit, just for fun, I'd pop on headphones and play to my favorite music at the time. And then slowly but surely that led to like actually being able to play the parts and realize that I'm picking out certain things that the musicians are doing or that the drummers are doing, and that I can like fully replicate it, you know?
If your dad wasn't a drummer, do you think he'd be doing
Probably not. No. I think part of it's genetic, and also like when you're younger and you like look up to your parents, like you mimic, So I'm so grateful that I got to hit on drums since I was in diapers, Otherwise, I don't think I'd be where I'm at now. When I started my first band, I was like 15, and yeah, I wouldn't have school on Fridays, and I would procrastinate doing all my homework and everything until like Sunday night, So yeah, I spent as much time as possible just making music and having my buddies over. And
how did you find that first band?
A couple of us met through church, and then the lead guitarist, the band was called Sola Fide, and it was with singer Joseph Arns. Chase Barrett was the bassist. Jonas Miller was the guitarist, and his uncle was the singer of my dad's band called Shangri-La, and we met at like a little reunion that my parents hosted at the house in like 6th grade, and like we just hit it off,
So y'all were like little kids?
We were kids, man. Yeah, like little teens, and we're like, we should start a band. That'd be cool. You play guitar, I play drums. Like we should do this,
So what did that look like? All y'all like, were you writing together? Were you like doing covers?
Yeah, trying. We didn't really learn any covers. We sort of just like just messing around. Like, oh, that riff sounds cool. I'll lay down a beat to it, and I can like go back and look at old videos of it. I'm like, we were trying. We were trying our best. But it's important. It's like you have to learn how to work with other people and get creative. So I'm thankful I got to do it with like my best friends at the time.
Yeah.
I was a senior in high school. I was 18 years old, like spring, and then I got a tour offer from this group called Johnny Swim, and they had roots in Jacksonville, and then moved to Nashville, and then they moved to LA. But they found a lot of momentum and success with their music. It's like a folk pop duo, and they bring on band members to like play live, and their music director, we became tight because he produced my first band's one of our singles, and their drummer had dropped out for a summer tour, and he threw my name in the pot, and then I sent like an audition video, and they're like, okay, yeah, come on. I was like, oh my God, I'm literally not even done with high school yet, So I had to like get permission from my school to basically like do accelerated courses on the road. So I graduated high school in like a green room in Ohio, like Columbus, Ohio. So I didn't walk or anything, but it genuinely like dream come true, because like I had senioritis like since freshman year. I just wanted to get out, and that sort of jump started my career, I think, because I had to play catch up real fast. I had to I was by far the youngest member of that team by like I don't know, maybe 10 years. Yeah. And so they're all incredible musicians and performers, and I felt like it really helped me, rise to the occasion. But that sort of solidified what I did at the time, and then COVID hit, and then Flipturn had some seats open up in the band, and Mitch and we would jam and like make music together, and we sort of bonded over the fact like, okay, this band has so much potential. If only we could join, haha, that'd be crazy, and we sort of accidentally manifested it because he joined a year before I did. COVID hit, and then he was like, hey, he texted me, he was like, learn the discography, like they're gonna hit you up, And then, yeah, it started as like a fill-in position. I thought I was just sort of getting them through a weird COVID time. But then we really hit it off, and we worked together well creatively. And I found myself on a writing trip, and then we started touring, so it just sort of stuck after that, I feel like it was just like reoccurring moments of that. Like I can cite my first moment being that show that I saw, of like, oh, I have to at least try this. I have to, It's just too good. And then my first band I was in, we played one of our first shows at Rain Dogs in Jacksonville, and I had just never experienced that feeling of like playing something that me and my friends have made and people are freaking out and dancing and jumping and screaming, and it just felt so rewarding and fulfilling. So I can cite moments kind of compounding on one another like that. So that was my first tour ever with Johnny Swim, the first show I ever did with Flipturn, you know. I feel like it still happens to this day. I'm like reminded every time we perform why this is the greatest thing to me, and that I just have to keep doing it, you know.
What was your first show with Flipturn? Do you remember?
The first, technically, it was during COVID, so it was a live stream in Charleston, you know. And then the next show we did after that was a socially distanced show outside the Atlanta Speedway, opening for Mount Joy. But it was like a drive-in situation. So it was like people were pulling up in their cars, like a drive-in theater, but it's a stage and it's a show. So like no applause during songs, just people like honking their horns and everything.
Wait, that's so cool.
I
I've never
know.
heard about that.
Well, because you know, it was for a brief time. People were doing weird shows like that.
Necessity.
Yeah, but that was the first one, which I look back on like that's so weird that was the experience. It's a collaborative experience, and it's a game of yes and, you know, it's kind of like improv. And you also have to like die to your ego too, you know, because there's multiple creative inputs and energies, and sometimes creatively you're not always going to be aligned. There's going to be friction. So it really taught me how to like navigate the friction and arrive somewhere where everybody's stoked about it, you know. So it's just a compromise, and it's beautiful because it's like when I feel like solo artists are really cool. That stuff's really fun, but there's just something magic about a band because it's a bunch of different people, and you get something that otherwise would not have existed before, you know. It's incredibly unique because of all the different inputs. So it taught me how to like listen to other parts and write to other instruments going on, and like not just go balls to the wall the whole time, but like be intentional with the parts I'm playing, you know.
Do
Yeah.
you input for like just the drum part, or will you like say like, oh, I think this would be cool here for a different instrument?
Oh, everybody has full creative freedom. So if we hear a riff or anything, we'll, you know, I can't pick up a guitar and start shredding or anything, so I normally have to like sing what I'm hearing in my head, but I'll pitch ideas like that. We'll all make demos on our own too, you know, and, you know, pitch it to each other, and then if we really like it, we learn it and kind of Flipturnify it.
I like that.
But yeah, it's like if somebody has a drum beat idea or somebody has a guitar idea, it doesn't matter who it is or what instrument they play. We sort of just trust the person that's the professional at the instrument to like, you know, make it better. Yeah. I don't know. We call it burnout days. It doesn't necessarily mean we are burnt out. I think it was more just shining a light on the fact that being a band and ripping van tours and, you know, fucking up your sleep schedule, it's taxing on the body and on the mind. And I think after coming off of a couple years of touring our album Shadow Glow, we hit it really hard. So I think we were just a bit tired, maybe worn down, you know? And I think we just drew from that as inspiration for the songs on Burnout Days. But it doesn't mean we've lost the love for what we do, you know? Because we're reminded every time we play a show, like, oh, this is why we grind for this, and this is why I will have sleepless nights and like, you know, push through sickness to like get the show done. It's just so worth it every time. So it wasn't as much actual burnout as it was just like drawing inspiration from like, you know, getting beat down by like van tour vibe, you know? This is kind of funny. I don't know why this is the first thing that came to mind, but I remember it was one of our first times touring in Colorado, and you know, at that time we're doing a van tour, so we're driving ourselves, but the van we were in didn't have an air filter, so I was sick like the entire last half of the tour. You know, for maybe like a month straight, I'm just like completely sick because I'm breathing in all these like dust particles and who knows what else. But I remember like, you know, we didn't get much sleep. We're driving through the mountains in Colorado. I'm sick, and I'm just like, I'm so weepy. I'm listening to Adrian Lenker. I got my sunglasses on to like hide the tears because the mountains are so beautiful and the song's so beautiful. But I remember feeling sort of like beat down in that moment, and then simultaneously like grateful for where I was at. You know, I'm like, this is so cool, and like I can't believe that music has brought me here. You know, and yeah, it's just funny to think back on that because that was probably like the most tired I've ever been. You know, I think the first single called Slow Burner, I started the original demo maybe February of last year, 2025. So it's almost a year old now. But it came from just learning how to do production through writing with Flipturn, like working in studios with producers. I sort of picked up some chops along the way and was just sort of experimenting with my own song ideas and drum ideas. I feel like most of my demos start with either like a sample that I think sounds really cool, or in Slow Burner's case, it was a drum beat. And I was like, I love this beat too much to not do anything with. And maybe it's a little bit too weird or aggressive for a Flipturn thing, so I'm just gonna see what I can do with it. And yeah, I mean, that was like the first time that I started adding stuff and creating my own song and realized, oh, I really love this. And I think maybe other people might rock with it as well. You know, I was just so proud of it. Yeah, and then getting to bring that, I pushed it along as far as I could, and then ended up bringing it to my good friend Asher Peterson, who's a producer in Nashville. Because I want to get to that point one day where I can fully produce my own stuff. I was like, I got to get it to a competitive level. I just believe in these songs too much. And he blew it out of the water. It just feels so good now, even better than I imagined in my head, you know?
Yeah.
I sort of just leaned into like a vibe that I like, you know? I feel like because everybody has their own tastes and, you know, music tastes, musical interests, my input with like Flipturn, it's different than what it'd be in any other band or like my own project. So yeah, it was weird chasing something by myself, like isolated. I'm like, I'm used to having other cooks in the kitchen and, you know, stuff running through filters. And I think it's just the product of not having anything filtered out, except like my own filters, you know? And I think subconsciously I'm just pulling through from music that I like. You know, I feel like at the time I was getting into a lot of hyperpop, and I was definitely listening to a lot of Charlie XCX, and I don't know, pulling from like really tough alt rock songs and the stuff I grew up on. I feel like I pull a lot from Louis Del Mar, which they got big. I feel like I pull so much from alt bands in like the 2010s, you know, like in like 2015 to 2020. Yeah, Louis Del Mar, Mute Math, of course. I'm a 21 Pilots fan, you know, for better or for worse. I mean, they rip, right?
Yeah,
They're so good.
You know?
Definitely Little Image, which I love those guys so much. They're the sweetest boys. But yeah, those are the artists I can think of off the top of my head. But I feel like I'm consuming so much music and pulling so much from a bunch of different people. So it was terrifying because I don't really sing these days. I in high school, I was in choir. I was a theater kid, so I did all the sing-songy stuff. And then when I started doing like, you know, my band and touring, I leaned more into the whole drummer thing. So it was a little freaky kind of revisiting vocal territory because I'm like, I do not have the chops anymore. I got to like really work on this, you know? But I think because I believed in the song so much, I felt comfortable enough, you know, to push it over the finish line and make it a full song because I feel like that's what it deserved, you know?
Why did you make the decision that was going to be your voice and not like reach out to a different vocalist?
Honestly, probably because I'm like, who's gonna fuck with this? You know, who's gonna rock with this weird song? You know, and because I think deep down I was like, I know I'm capable. I could probably pull this off. But I think part of it I was like, I don't know what category this would fit into. I don't know what band or what artist I'd pitch this idea to, so I just have to sort of make it happen on my own, you know.
Well, you did a really good job.
Thanks.
You were a theater kid, wait.
Yeah.
Were you in theater, or you really loved theater?
I was into theater in high school, and I think through 6th grade, 6th through 11th grade, I was like getting leads and musicals. I didn't do Wicked. I mean, we did like Beauty and the Beast. I was Lumiere, Beauty and the Beast, Peter Pan and Peter Pan.
You do give Peter Pan
right? Yeah, I think it was a typecast situation. Yeah, and that taught me a lot too. You know, I feel like I still pull from like lessons I learned in theater and apply it to the show setting every time we play. You know, the lyrics. It's so weird for me. Lyrics always come last. I think I resonate emotionally more with like the instrumentation of a song. If a beat and a chord progression makes me feel a certain way, I try to like draw from that and put it into lyrics, if that makes sense. So like the original demo, I did a vocal melody, but I'm just singing like gibberish. You know, I'm like I'll come back and fill in the blanks later with lyrics, but that's sort of the last step of the process because I want to like resonate with it emotionally first, you know. I mean, they come from, you know, my own personal life experiences and internal struggles, and I think it's like an outlet creatively for all of the things that go on internally, you know. It's like an internal dialogue. But I don't want it to be so straightforward that people can't connect their own experiences to the song. So, I want to leave it somewhat cryptic so that you don't know exactly what I'm talking about, but you can still relate to it. You know what I mean? I think generally it's just what everybody feels, which is, you know, I mean, people deal with anxiety and people deal with, you know, having hesitations or, you know, not being sure where to go in life. And I think it's just, you know, a word vomit of all of those feelings, you know?
Yeah, I think that's very relatable for a lot of people right now.
Right.
Because everything's so uncertain.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I feel like pulled from so many experiences, it's hard to narrow it down to like one thing, you know? I've never done it, so I don't know. It's so weird. This will be my first time doing it. I don't know, maybe there's a bit more sense of like ownership, you know, rather than like 20%. It's like, oh, this is 100% me. And it's exciting and a little scary because I'm like, oh, I wonder how it's going to be received. You know, it's like uncharted territory for me. But yeah, that hopefulness, it is exciting. You know, I can't wait to see like how it is received. I mean, I'm excited to see what people connect with my music and how that inspires my next creative project going forward, you know. I mean, at the end of the day, it really is for me, you know. It's like it's so therapeutic in a way to just make music, and I want to put it out there because I know like if I resonate with it and like I really connect with it, there's chances are somebody else will too. So it really doesn't matter how many people do or don't, because at the end of the day, I do. But yeah, I'm excited to get these out there to the world and then dive into whatever comes next. You know, you never want to like create for other people. Like obviously, you got to create with other people in mind. You got to have something that's listenable or relatable to a certain extent. But the first priority should always be like, do I love it? And like, am I passionate about it? Do I believe in it? And if you start there, yeah, there's a good chance. People love authenticity, and that's really what this project is just being my authentic self creatively. So, yeah, it's like vulnerable and exciting. February 18th, the first single, Slow Burner, comes out under VonBalson. Yeah, Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, SoundCloud, wherever you stream music, it's going to be there.
Sick.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. This was fun.